Hi everyone, this week I've been testing probably the weirdest vehicle I've ever had as a loaner. It's a 2019 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter. So the Sprinter was all new for 2019. It's available in a number of different configurations. This one is a 12-passenger all-wheel drive diesel model. In addition to the passenger van, you can get a cargo van, you can get a crew van, which mixes a back seat with a cargo area. So the idea there is if you have a crew of 4 people to drive to a job site, you can take them all in your van and still have room in the back for all of your supplies. And then there's also a chassis cab version, which you would take to a third-party upfitter and have them build any variety of different utility bodies onto the back. I have the window sticker here. Actually, let's just take it to the back seat here and look at it out of the wind. So, first of all, it is super hot in this thing, in part because it's black, but also because it's just got this massive cavernous interior that sits baking in the sun all day. AC vents are up there, and then there's an AC system overhead. Either way though, it still takes a while for this thing to cool down after it's been sitting in the sun all day. But anyway, you can see it's a 2019 Sprinter 2500 passenger van, 144 inch. So this is a 144 inch wheelbase. There's also a 170 inch van that would offer room for up to 15 people. This one's also a high roof. Sticker price as equipped on this thing is $61K. Your suggested retail price is $49,000, and then there's some options. The biggest thing with the Sprinter that increases the price is that diesel engine. So you can see it's a 3-liter V6 turbo diesel paired with a 7-speed automatic. Don't quote me on these, but output for the turbo diesel is, I think, about 190 horsepower and 330 pounds-feet of torque. There's also a 4-cylinder gas turbo. It's like a 1.9 liter paired with, I think, a 9-speed automatic, and that puts out also 190 horsepower, but just like 275 pounds-feet of torque, roughly. All you really need to know about this thing is that it is a cargo van, 144-inch wheelbase, and the only real option is all-wheel drive, but it also comes with that diesel engine, which is definitely more expensive than the gas engine. Let's close it here and do a little walk around. So these all-wheel drive Sprinters are super tall. The ground clearance on these things is impressive, especially given that they're not quite a hardcore off-road vehicle. They do have a low range. Not sure if they have a transfer case. I've done a little research on these, and it sounds like their 4-wheel drive systems are more like all-wheel drive systems. That 4x4 badge on the back might be a little bit misleading. Either way though, the fact that it's a massive, long, tall cargo van is likely to limit you on the trail before you reach the limitations of this all-wheel drive system. So I don't think it's that big of a deal, but solid rear axle back there. Really basic wheels up front. Bumper's pretty plastic. All plastic. Mercedes grille, can't miss it. Let's hop inside. Pretty big step up. Right foot. Stand up on the right, grab the door, slide in. Push button start. It's a diesel engine. There's a little delay before it starts up. I assume that has to do with the glow plugs. There we go. So delayed startup. That's, I'm assuming, a diesel thing. Maybe somebody can clarify. But as you can see, this is a really basic spec. When I found out I was getting a Sprinter, I was hoping it was a little bit better equipped model, just because I know you can get this thing with loads of active safety tech. You can get it with a nice big screen here with Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, there's voice recognition, there's a big camera system. You can get this thing really well equipped. But as you can see, this one is pretty basic. Vinyl floors. These are leatherette seats. One nice touch, and I'll show you on this one, is that these front seats, they'll work. There we go. Actually have extendable thigh supports, which are really nice on long trips. Other than that, not a lot going on here. Probably the most basic radio offered in any new vehicle today. And then you get this little screen here that gives you a little bit of information, tells you where your diesel exhaust fluid level is at. Anybody who's been in a modern Mercedes probably recognizes this switchgear, so you can adjust things here. I haven't played with it too much. You cycle through via this little, it's not really a button, it's just a touch control. Something kind of funny about this thing is that the locks sound very similar to the locks on the G-Wagon, and I mention that because the locks on the G-Wagon are iconic. It's like part of the ethos of the vehicle. Listen to these locks. Yeah? I wouldn't be surprised if that was the exact same part, because it sounds so similar. Actually, let me give you a listen from the outside. Moving along here, this is kind of a weird review because there's not a lot to show, even though this is a huge vehicle. Room for 12 people, so 1, 2 in the front, and then 3 in the second row, 3 in the third row, and 4 in the fourth row, for a total of 12. Back here, there isn't a whole lot. There's this big AC unit right here because otherwise this thing would be unbearably hot. You got a sliding door on one side. This is just a solid panel that actually includes an emergency exit. Something kind of funny up on the front here, there is a USB-C port, so that's nice to see. Child safety latches on 1, 2, 3, 4. The outboard second and third row seats, and then none in the fourth row, so just 4 latch connection points for car seats. Boy, there are cup holders down here. Actually, let me flip the camera around. Turn the cabin lights on here. There we go. They come on gradually. Cup holders. Very German, meaning they're not very functional at all. Little stow pocket right here with another USB-C charge port. Armrests on the seats. Another pocket with a USB port right here. So I guess you could plug your cable in there, loop it through here, and then sit your phone there while it charges. So, okay, so there are, wow, actually, 1, 2, 3, 4 USB, call them phone charging stations back here. More than I expected. Little speakers. Like I said, vinyl floor. You've got air vents back here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 3 lights overhead, and then let's hop out and take a look at the cargo area. Door slides pretty nicely. Sprinter badge there, 2500 badge here, and then that potentially misleading 4x4 badge right there. Opens right here, so the Mercedes badge comes out, leaves a little impression there, and then this door opens via this thing. So, I'm not sure how valuable this information is, but you can close the side door before... Who's stressed out right now? Just kidding, I'm not going to do it. But before closing the door that actually needs to be closed, so that could result in some rather costly bodywork. Okay, but in the cargo area, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 tie-down points, sound deadening panels that do run the length of the cabin, some storage nets here, storage net here. So you are able, it looks like, to be in the back and get out from the back here. So open that thing from that handle, and then, yeah, so you can exit from the back. Decent storage space under the seats, so if this thing were to be used as like a shuttle van for a ski resort, you
Could theoretically fit a ski bag underneath there. I used it to haul 2x4s this weekend.
And one more thing, the doors do open super wide. That's pretty much 180 degrees. Yeah, a little awkward getting in here. Okay, 3 more things I wanted to highlight here, and I apologize for the wind noise because it is ridiculously hot in this thing. 1, again, pretty sure these are at least the same base part used in the G-Wagon. They sound the same, they function the same, they look the same. Second thing, rear view camera. You'll notice there's no infotainment screen, so the rear view camera is in the mirror there. It's not the sharpest camera, but it's really not too bad. Contrast on the colors is pretty good. Lighting's decent. So, and then the third thing, you're probably wondering about specific off-road features offered on the all-wheel drive model. Let's put her back in park. Off-road features specific to this vehicle, I've only really found a couple. You've got the center differential. Is that locked? So it's a switch that turns it on and off. It's flashing right now. Like I said, haven't gotten to take this thing off-road, so can't say for sure what that's doing. And then low range is activated via this button here. You can see it flashes. You have to be in neutral for low range. Not sure. Maybe we'll just have to leave that stone unturned. All right, let's take this thing for a little ride now. Guess I can turn those lights off. Okay, adjust the seat. So, a lot of adjustability to the seats. Shifter is this little lever on the steering column. Emergency brake off. Emergency brake is massive. Big plastic thing. This week, I've driven this thing to the park for fun, which, well, it was supposed to be fun. It wasn't because I had a massive cargo van that I was trying to park at the park. And then I took it to Home Depot, which was nice. I felt right at home parking in the contractor section. We just brought our stuff out on a cart, slid it in. That was like 25 2x4s, 25 seater 2x4s, and just slid them in underneath the seats here, which no one's buying this van to do that with, but I found a use for it. It's not really that hard to drive. Pedals to the floor. We are going 45 miles per hour. Not real hard to drive. It's big. Luckily, it's got blind spot monitoring. And like I mentioned, this one is pretty much a bare bones model, but you can get these with all the active safety tech you could want for the most part. It's long. It's not the longest version, like I said. Haven't had to go in any parking garages, which has been nice because this thing probably wouldn't fit. It's really high off the ground. That's the other thing. With the all-wheel drive model, you get a lot of ground clearance. Didn't take it off-road. I would have liked to, but this one just didn't really line up. But you know, I can imagine the all-wheel drive system is capable on a dirt road, but probably best for like snowy climates. Not quite the off-roader that like the G-Wagon is, of course, but then again, like I said, you're gonna run into limitations with this van due to its geometry and its size and its weight before you'd probably find the limits of that all-wheel drive system. The fact that it's super high off the ground does create a pretty big blind spot right here. Luckily, you've got blind spot monitoring to account for that, but I still always get a little bit anxious when, say, I'm in the middle lane and I need to get over into the right lane because you just can't see with your own eyes what's on the side of you there. The ride's not bad. It's not jarring, I wouldn't say. You've got a little bit of extra weight back here due to the seats. A little bit of extra weight. If you had a full load of people, I think the ride would probably be a little bit nicer because the added weight would help to tamp down the suspension a little bit. I've been driving this for a week. I don't know, I've probably put 80 miles on it. And now I just hop behind the wheel, turn it on, and drive it like it's any other vehicle. At first it was a little daunting. Elevated ride height is really nice because you've got a really commanding view of the road. Huge windshield is nice because you can see everything. The weird thing about the Sprinter is when this vehicle came to the United States in the early 2000s, it was sold, I believe, as a Dodge back in the days of Daimler Chrysler, and as a Freightliner, which is Daimler-Benz US market industrial arm. And these things weren't originally badged as Mercedes-Benz, and I remember when they started selling them as actual Mercedes products, I thought they were probably a more luxurious alternative to like a Ford Econoline or E-Series or whatever they were at the time, or the Chevrolet cargo vans. But in reality, you've kind of got to think of Mercedes-Benz Sprinter division as a company separate from Mercedes-Benz passenger car division. This thing would compare pretty much one-to-one with the Ford Transit. Build quality's okay, but it's not an E-Class in here. They designed this to compete with the Ford Transit, to a degree the Ram ProMaster and Nissan NV, even though those are both lower cost alternatives to the Transit and the Sprinter. So you're getting hard plastics in here just like you would in the Ford van, and they're priced pretty similarly as well. So that's kind of something I had to wrap my head around over the past several years, just the fact that Mercedes-Benz Sprinter is not a luxury cargo van. So I think that about does it for the Sprinter. I like to do off-road stuff. Unfortunately, the stars just didn't align with this loan to be able to actually take it off-road, and I just so happen to have a Tacoma TRD Pro this week, which would probably be my preferred choice if I were going to go off-roading with one of these vehicles. So look for the video on that. But as for the Sprinter as just a cargo van, this newly redesigned model, I'm sure it feels newer than the one it replaces. Tons of ground clearance with the all-wheel drive model. I think that's noteworthy. I wish I could have evaluated, like I said, one that was a little bit more equipped, because I know you can get this with a lot of features. Unfortunately, this just doesn't have them. You do get USB-C in this one, a couple of buttons that do off-road stuff that we weren't able to figure out what exactly they do, even though one looks like the button for low range and then one looks like it locks a center differential. Other than that, not a whole lot more to see here. It was certainly fun driving this thing for the week. The little bit that I did drive it, because there's just not a lot of places that are real appropriate to take this thing. But it seems to be fairly well built. Stuff's pretty utilitarian. Parking brake is really heavy duty plastic, but heavy duty. Diesel engine sounds nice. No EPA fuel economy ratings for this thing. So in the past 934 miles, this thing has returned 16.7 miles per gallon. Many of those miles, though, were on the highway when the company drove this thing from Denver to Salt Lake for me and probably a few other people to review it. Yeah, so if you're in the market for a large cargo van, this is certainly one of your options. It's hard for me to speak to it relative to the competitors because I haven't tested any of them really. Certainly some things to enjoy about it. I think that about wraps it up. So thank you for watching this Mercedes-Benz Sprinter review.